Okay, so we're diving deep today into something I know a lot of you are really interested in. It's that whole connection between sleep melatonin and living a longer, healthier life.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
It really is. We're always looking for those keys to longevity, and it's kind of wild to think that something as basic as sleep could be so central to it.
Right. And I think that's why this topic is getting so much attention these days. We're seeing more and more research that goes beyond just saying sleep is good for you.
Yeah.
We're really starting to understand the mechanisms at play.
Absolutely, and that's what we're going to dig into today. So, to be clear, we're looking at a bunch of recent scientific articles and studies that really focus on the nitty-gritty of how sleep and melatonin impact the aging process.
Exactly. And our goal here is to help you separate the solid science from the speculation, because there's a lot of buzz out there about melatonin being some sort of magic anti-aging pill.
Yeah, and we want to give you a clear picture of what we know for sure based on evidence and what's still in the needs more research category.
I think it's important to start with a solid understanding of just how powerful sleep is in the context of aging.
Right, because it's obviously more than just feeling rested.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's way more than that. While waking up feeling refreshed is great, the real magic happens on a cellular level when you're asleep, particularly during deep sleep.
Yeah, so can you break down what's actually happening in our bodies during those crucial deep sleep hours?
Well, one of the key processes is called autophagy.
Autophagy.
Yeah, like your cells have this built-in cleanup crew, and during autophagy, they're busy breaking down and removing all the damaged bits and pieces.
So it's like taking out the cellular trash.
Exactly, and this is so important for preventing the buildup of cellular junk that can actually speed up the aging process.
So the more we sleep, the better our cells are at this whole cleaning and repair thing.
Pretty much, and it doesn't stop there during sleep. Our DNA repair mechanisms also kick into high gear.
DNA repair, so we're actually fixing genetic damage while we sleep.
Precisely. And that directly reduces the risk of developing all sorts of age-related problems down the road.
That's amazing. So when we prioritize sleep, we're literally giving our bodies the time to repair and rebuild at the most fundamental level.
Exactly, and we're not even done yet. Hormonal regulation is also hugely important for healthy aging.
Right. Hormones play such a massive role in how our bodies function.
They really do. And one of the key hormones for staying youthful is growth hormone.
Oh, yeah. Growth hormone. We usually associate that with, kids growing taller.
That's right. But it's actually crucial for adults, too. It helps with the tissue repair, maintaining a healthy metabolism as we age. And guess what? Its release peaks during sleep.
Of course it does. So yet another reason to make sure we're getting enough shut-eye.
And let's not forget about the brain. It also needs some serious downtime to do its own maintenance.
I was just going to ask about that. What happens in the brain during sleep that contributes to healthy aging?
Well, your brain has its own unique waste disposal system called the glymphatic system.
The glymphatic system, that's a new one for me.
It's pretty cool. Basically, this system ramps up its activity while you're asleep, clearing out all sorts of metabolic byproducts that have built up during the day.
So it's like your brain takes out the trash every night.
Exactly. And this process is really important for protecting against neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's.
Wow. So it really sounds like cutting back on sleep is like setting yourself up for all sorts of age-related issues, heart problems, metabolic disorders, cognitive decline.
Unfortunately, that's what the research is showing. Consistently getting less than 6 hours of sleep a night is linked to a significantly increased risk of all those conditions and more.
And we're not just talking about feeling tired the next day. This is about long-term health consequences.
Absolutely. We also see biological markers of accelerated aging in people who are chronically sleep deprived.
Yeah.
Their cells are literally aging faster.
Okay, well, that's a pretty strong argument for prioritizing sleep, but let's talk about this mysterious hormone melatonin that everyone's so interested in.
Yeah, melatonin, it's often called the sleep hormone, but it's actually way more complex than that.
I was going to say, it seems like it's got some hidden talents beyond just making us sleepy.
It does indeed. Its primary job is to regulate our circadian rhythm, that internal clock that governs our sleep-wake cycle. But research has revealed some pretty amazing additional benefits.
All right, spill the beans. What else is melatonin doing behind the scenes to keep us healthy?
Well, for starters, it's a powerful antioxidant, like a bodyguard for your cells.
Oh, bodyguard, how so?
It actively neutralizes harmful free radicals that can damage vital components within our cells, especially the mitochondria, which are responsible for producing energy.
Right, the mitochondria, those are like the powerhouses of the cell.
Exactly. And this ongoing battle against oxidative stress is a major driver of the aging process.
So melatonin isn't just helping us fall asleep, it's also protecting our cells from the kind of damage that leads to aging.
Precisely. It's a pretty impressive multitasker.
It really is. Are there any other benefits we should know about?
Oh yeah, there's more evidence is emerging that melatonin has significant anti-inflammatory effects.
That's interesting because we know that chronic inflammation is linked to so many age-related diseases.
Exactly. So melatonin's potential to dampen that inflammatory fire is really exciting. And on top of that, it also plays a role in regulating our immune system.
Okay, so it's like a triple threat: sleep regulation, antioxidant, and anti-inflammatory. And it helps our immune system stay strong.
You got it. It's pretty remarkable.
It is, but let's get to the question that everyone's wondering about. Can melatonin actually extend our lifespan?
Ah, yes. That's where things get a little more speculative. While melatonin's role in supporting healthy aging is well established, the idea that it can actually make us live longer is still up for debate.
Right, because I've seen those headlines about studies showing that melatonin extends the lifespan of certain animals.
You're right. There have been studies in rodents specifically that show promising results. Giving them melatonin supplements did seem to increase their lifespan.
So that's got to be exciting for researchers,
Mm-hmm.
but I imagine there are some caveats.
Oh, absolutely. For one thing, we can't just assume that what works in rodents will automatically translate to humans.
Right, different species, different lifespans, different...
Exactly. Human biology is far more complex, and the research on melatonin and longevity in humans is still in its very early stages.
So we need more human studies, more data, more long-term research before we can make any definitive claims.
Absolutely, we need to be cautious about over-interpreting those animal studies.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, you mentioned earlier a potential link between melatonin and something called NAD+. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, NAD+ stands for nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. It's a coenzyme that's crucial for a ton of cellular processes.
Okay, bear with me here. I'm not a scientist. Break that down for me.
Sure, basically, NAD+ is involved in things like energy metabolism, DNA repair, and cell signaling. It's essential for keeping our cells functioning properly, and it naturally declines as we age.
So the less NAD+ we have, the more our cells struggle to do their jobs.
Exactly, and that contributes to the aging process. Now, what's interesting is that some researchers believe melatonin might play a role in supporting NAD+ levels.
So it's not that melatonin is directly extending lifespan, but it might be working indirectly by boosting this NAD+, which is so important for cellular health.
That's the hypothesis, but it's important to emphasize that this connection is still largely theoretical. We need a lot more research to confirm whether this is actually happening in humans.
Gotcha. So it's an exciting area of research, but not something we can bank on just yet.
Right, it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Okay, so while we wait for more definitive answers on melatonin, let's shift gears a bit and talk about the relationship between sleep deprivation and aging.
Yeah, this is a really important area to discuss because it gets to the heart of whether poor sleep actually causes premature aging or if it's just correlated with it.
Right, because we know that people who consistently don't get enough sleep tend to experience more age-related health problems.
Exactly, but is it the lack of sleep itself that's driving those problems, or are other factors at play?
Like what kind of other factors?
Well, people who struggle with sleep often have higher stress levels, maybe they don't eat as healthy, maybe they're exposed to more environmental toxins. All of those things can independently contribute to aging.
So it's hard to tease apart the specific effects of sleep deprivation from all these other variables.
It's a complex web of influences,
Okay.
but what we can say for certain is that insufficient sleep puts a lot of stress on our cells.
And we know that cellular stress is a hallmark of aging.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So while we can't definitively say that sleep deprivation alone causes premature aging, it's highly likely that it plays a significant role.
Okay, so it's probably a combination of factors, but sleep is definitely a key piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely. Prioritizing sleep is one of the most important things you can do for your long-term health.
So what are some practical steps people can take to improve their sleep and potentially slow down the aging process?
The foundation is good sleep hygiene. That means going to bed and waking up around the same time each day, even on weekends.
Yeah, consistency is key.
It really is. It helps regulate your natural sleep-wake cycle and create a rhythm for your body to follow.
What about all the screens we're exposed to these days? Any advice on that?
Definitely minimizing exposure to blue light from electronic devices in the hours before bed is crucial.
Right, that blue light messes with our melatonin production.
Exactly. It tricks your brain into thinking it's still daytime, making it harder to fall asleep.
Okay, so good sleep hygiene is essential. What else can we do?
Nutrition plays a role too. Certain nutrients like magnesium glycine and theanine have been shown to improve sleep quality.
So maybe incorporating foods rich in those nutrients into our diets.
Exactly. And for people who struggle with insomnia, cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia or CBTI is a really effective non-pharmacological treatment.
CBTI, that's something I've heard about. Is it like talk therapy for sleep problems?
It helps you identify and change the thoughts and behaviors that are contributing to your insomnia.
Interesting. So it's not just about taking a pill, it's about addressing the underlying causes of sleep problems.
Right. And of course, managing stress is crucial for good sleep.
Yeah, stress and sleep are definitely intertwined.
Absolutely. Incorporating relaxation techniques like meditation, deep breathing exercises, or yoga can make a huge difference in both your sleep quality and your overall well-being.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today as we wrap up. Can you give us the key takeaways about sleep, melatonin, and longevity?
Absolutely. So we know that sleep is absolutely essential for overall health, and it plays a crucial role in the processes that influence how we age, like cellular repair and hormone regulation.
Right, and those processes happen most effectively during those deep sleep stages.
Exactly. Now, melatonin is a fascinating hormone with a lot of potential benefits. It regulates our sleep-wake cycle, acts as a powerful antioxidant, and has anti-inflammatory properties.
But the research on whether it can actually extend human lifespan is still preliminary.
Right, those animal studies are interesting, but we need more research in humans before we can make any definitive claims.
So the takeaway is that prioritizing good sleep through those evidence-based methods we discussed is the most reliable way to support healthy aging.
Exactly. It's about focusing on the fundamentals.
And while we all might be searching for that magic longevity pill, it seems like the real magic lies in taking care of our basic needs, starting with getting enough sleep.
Couldn't agree more.
So to our listeners, as you think about everything we've talked about today, I'd encourage you to pick one small aspect of your sleep habits that you can work on this week. Even something as simple as setting a consistent bedtime could have a ripple effect on your health and longevity. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Thanks for having me.